Welcome to Tips, the Townsend Institute podcast series, a show produced by the Townsend Institute at Concordia University Irvine. This podcast shares stories of leadership, coaching, and counseling experiences that have shaped the lives and careers of our guests, who then provide tips aimed toward helping listeners grow in both their personal and professional lives. I'm Dr. John Townsend, psychologist, organizational consultant, and author of over 30 books, including the New York Times best-selling Boundaries series. I'm also the founder of the Townsend Institute, and I'm excited to introduce your podcast hosts, Dr. Ashlie Andrew and Dr. Gilbert Fugit.
Welcome back, listeners, to our 50th episode, our golden anniversary. Gilbert and I are excited to sit down with Concordia Irvine alum and one of my former students, Scott Esswein. Scott currently serves as Executive Director of Manufactured Home Communities at Wells Fargo.
That's right, Ashley. Scott has worked at Wells Fargo since he graduated from Concordia 10 years ago. His career success, partnered with continued love for the Lord, his family, friends, and community, has attributed to him being presented the Gold Award, which is a graduate of the last decade Alumni Achievement Award. What a tremendous honor for Scott, an honor for us to sit down with him today to talk leadership, growth, and hard work. Let's get started.
Well, everyone, welcome back to the Townsend Institute podcast series. Welcome to my co-host Gilbert and our special guest in studio today, alumni of Concordia University Irvine. Welcome, Scott.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Glad you're here, Scott.
We're excited to have you on today as we just kind of touch base a little bit with you about what life has been like after graduation, and also just a bit of a congratulations ahead of a big award that you'll be receiving here coming up. And that is, let me get the name of it officially, the Gold Achievement Award, the graduate of the last decade, given out by our Alumni Relations Office at Concordia Irvine. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pretty big honor. An institution, Concordia, has meant like so much to me. It has been just like a part of my life, my development, and then to be honored and recognized by that institution, it meant a lot. Really humbling.
It's huge. Absolutely. Obviously, graduate of the last decade. It has been 10 years since you've graduated from Concordia. So tell us a little bit about what you've been up to since then.
So I guess I'll start professionally. I have spent the past 10 years at Wells Fargo. I'm a part of their corporate and investment bank, specifically within the commercial real estate division. I was lucky enough to have a job that started right once I graduated from Concordia, and now been there almost 10 years. Personally, I've been married going on 7 years in May. My wonderful wife, Ariana Esswein, also a Concordia alum.
Yep.
And then other than that, it's just getting to enjoy life each and every day.
Scott, I don't know. I'm at to maybe email my alma mater because they missed my award for the decade. So congratulations on that.
Gilbert's not far from graduate of the last century, though. Perhaps
the last millennium.
Maybe so that's what it is.
Maybe that
little patience. You'll get there, bud.
Patient, good things come to those who wait. So, right, that ketchup commercial. So you've been working at Wells Fargo. You kind of had that. Maybe it sounds like lined up there. You did a lot of things, I know, while you were at Concordia, maybe to prepare you and things like that with student body president and a lot of leadership things. But how did your faith because I know that's important to you. How did your faith integrate and impact you after graduation, going into the corporate world and things? So
I would say it was definitely a transition going from Concordia, or really, honestly, my entire life up until then. I was lucky enough to be raised in a strong Christian family. I went to my local Lutheran elementary school, my local Christian high school, and then Concordia. So those communities are just very supportive. It's really easy to be fed when you are in these kind of environments. Now, moving on to a secular world, a secular industry, it's a change. I would say personally, it's a reminder for me of how important it is to have my local church, to be supported by my Christian friends, my Christian family. And also it's just a personal reminder of like, I need to be intentional myself of how am I going to focus and continually try to grow my faith. I guess then thinking kind of just that transition, I'd also say that it's a different environment working in a secular world. It is not like any sort of like a discrimination, but it's just the conversation of your faith doesn't happen day in and day out. Maybe there's some casual conversations. You'll have some coworkers, ask some questions. Oh, what'd you do for the weekend? Oh, went to church, had this kind of event, and maybe it'll spark a little bit of a conversation to follow up. For the most part, it's pretty much like that's a separate side of you. So I've had just a focus of, okay, if that's kind of how we go about this, how do I try to then let everything else about me try to reflect my faith? How do I have positive conversations with individuals? How do I show my coworkers that I love them, that love that Jesus has given me, I can now show to them without always having to use words?
You talk a little bit about that transition, and I mean, you honestly have made it look easy in your 10 years since graduation. You've seen so much success, both personally and professionally, but sure, there's been challenges. So can you talk a little bit about that transition from college life to the so-called real world for those of our listeners who might be kind of in the early 20s age, making that transition themselves, or a lot of our listeners that have employees or maybe children or grandchildren that are heading towards that transition? What advice do you have, for that key transition?
I think I would start with is that first job is scary. I remember my like first couple months just being overwhelmed and like telling my parents, like, I don't know if I'm going to be cut out for this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing half the time. Thankfully, they gave me the support and also were very intentional. Like, speak with your manager about this. I have a feeling you won't be the only one who's felt like this. And sure enough, similar conversations of, that everyone has been there. With my manager was more the one to give me a little extra help, give me some extra guidance, just as I got through that first couple months to really figure out and get confident in what I was doing day in and day out. So it's okay that first job stresses you out. It's normal.
Stresses you out, or I'm sure maybe a little bit of that imposter syndrome. We've heard some of our guests talk about that, kind of that, oh gosh, should I be doing this? Like, is this the right
100%.
kind of deal as well? So that's awesome. Well, good support system, it sounds like. And those communication, being honest with those around you, whether it's a boss or family members or whatever that life team is, that can probably give you that extra sort of encouragement you need at that time.
Absolutely.
For you to stay with Wells Fargo, that's really great that you got that job right after graduation and you're still kicking.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. They've taken really good care of me. It's all clearly a part of God's plan, because like, I guess with that was really interesting is when I was at Concordia my junior year, I was applying for the internship position between the junior and senior year, like that summer. I'd interviewed, I didn't get the position. I finished second in our like office. The manager called me and was like, we really liked you, but we only have one position. You finished second, but would you want to stay in contact about a potential opening? And I was like, absolutely. So got coffee with her probably every other month for a couple months. And then after staying in touch with her, she had an analyst who quit. This was probably October of my senior year. She called and said, hey, are you still graduating in December? And I said, yeah, I am. And she goes, well, we're now hiring for someone to start in January. Would you want to come in for an interview? Went in, and the rest is history.
Oh my gosh, Scott, that's amazing.
That persistence,
relationship, right?
Yeah, it really is. And like, for some reason I graduated in 3.5 years. If I would have graduated in just 4, I would have been the same as everybody else, but God just put the pieces together.
He sure does. He sure does. And that's just a perfect example of sometimes no just means not now. Right. And so just having that extra patience and keeping that relationship up. Right. I mean, had you gone away and just kind of shrugged your shoulders and says, well, hey, to heck with you guys if I'm second, but you didn't. You kept the relationship and communication going. And here you are 10 years later. Wow. That's awesome.
100%.
I think
Yeah.
that's a great life lesson for others to think of too, because, there's going to be a lot of no's and closed doors at all different
Mhm.
stages
Mm,
of life. But just to kind of keep knocking on them, it's key.
totally.
And I'm just thinking you got a job right out of college, right? I mean, you kind of had it lined up and walked in there and stuff. Did you have a lot of friends that didn't have anything? They were still going surfing and hanging out during the day and like, "Hey, Scott, what are you doing?"
Yeah, and I would say it was even further is I graduated in December. So it was
Oh
like a
yeah.
semester early. So like I was in like January came around and I'm now working a 9 to 5 and all my friends are still in college. So that was an interesting like intermediary period.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
only still in college, but like that senioritis has kicked in for
Yeah.
Yes.
them, but you've got that like real world kind of situation. So
It's it all changed on you. Well, one of the things we talk about in a Townsend Institute is the connection, right? Competence, character, and connection. And I know for you, your support system. You talked a little bit about that, as far as your family and your friends. But how did that influence even your career choices and maybe relationships and what you did after graduation?
Yeah. So I would say as I made that transition going from Concordia to the real world, I leaned heavily at one point with Professor Kit Nagel. He's been a mentor
Mhm.
for me. He was my finance professor, taught me a number of different classes at Concordia. He's also someone that I still stay in touch with. We'll share emails. We'll get together for a bite to eat, maybe for beer, but just someone that's been really important to me in kind of my development going from Concordia into the real world. I'd also say thinking about community and how it's shaped me is as of late, like what my local church has been. Just I have to do a shout out to Peace Tustin in Orange.
mm.
It is a little Concordia reunion every time I get to go to church on Sunday. Uh, it's wonderful. But there's just so many people there. There's a life group they get to be a part of, church council, just various committees. Getting involved at this church has really shaped me and really helped provide fulfillment as I kind of go through that next stage in life.
That's really great, Scott. So you've talked about it a little bit, Professor Nagel.
Mhm.
We talked a bit about you obviously serving as student body president when you were on campus. Can you think back or looking back, what other aspects of your college experience do you feel really equipped you for that next launching off point? Particular classes, maybe other mentorships, opportunities, internships?
One of the kind of roles that you mentioned was I had the opportunity of serving as student body president, so the ASCUI president when I was at Concordia.
Mhm.
At the time, I didn't realizing it, but it was really helping prepare me for a little bit of the corporate world. Um, as student body president, I had the opportunity for writing a quarterly board report, creating a
Mm,
presentation, and then presenting said presentation to the board of trustees and
mm.
Concordia's board of directors. It was a little bit awe-inspiring moment. A little bit, I was definitely scared because every single person there was not just my senior, but had become a like expert in so many different fields.
Hmm.
So here I am, kind of like 21 year old Scott, having to present in front of these individuals that the first time I had to do something similar for work, where I'm having to lead a presentation. Um, Definitely still nervous, but I've done this before. I know how to create the presentation. I know how to address those who are more senior position than I am. So that little bit of practice just made things a lot better.
That's awesome to hear. I'd love to ask a follow up to that because I think this might be interesting for some of our leaders who are already, like what you talked about, probably at that age or position as some of those members of the boards of trustees. But what are some things that, whether it was them or whether your supervisors and leaders that you have now in your career, what are some things that they've done or said to help bring you up? So I'm thinking about our audience members that are, 40s, 50s, 60s, and they have younger employees that they're helping to really mentor and build up in their organizations. What advice can we give them for helping lead the younger generations?
I would say being present for them, um, helping build that relationship to be someone that they can trust. It involves you probably being a little bit vulnerable about yourself to start
Mhm.
to build that relationship. Um, once you have that level of trust, it changes everything for as like a younger employee, knowing that I can ask that question that I'm not sure if it is a good question. It might be a really dumb question. But to have that trust and
Yes.
confidence in someone that I'm not just going to kind of be shamed or put down for asking something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I also think just giving real good positive feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's in a positive and a negative kind of connotation, I would say. So
Mm-hmm.
there are certain times where I have probably not put my best effort into a memo that I drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I look back and it wasn't obvious, or it's obvious. And my manager had to say, like, I think you missed it here. I don't think you looked at this. These numbers didn't tick and tie. And it's like, yeah, that's right. However, I'd say the alternative to that is there's a couple emails that I've gotten that have just been like, good job, Scott, or great job in that presentation. Good call, way to lead that call with the client. And that has just kind of made my day, made my week, gave me a little bit of inspiration that I needed to keep going.
So feedback, both the good and the bad,
Absolutely.
because that's
Yeah.
right. We need the good for the encouragement, but sometimes we need that criticism in order to grow and improve. It's great.
Yeah,
Totally.
we just interviewed Dr. Gary Chapman a little while back and talked about words of affirmation, the love languages in organization. And so you're right, not every employee wants to have a big, parade and, band and things like that celebrating them. Just
We
a
know
little,
you do, Gilbert, but we
you
know
know
you
what?
do.
I mostly like the confetti cannon. So if we
Okay.
have that going on, then life it's a good day at work. So no hints, but if anybody's got a confetti cannon, so when you think about what really impacted you, it wasn't the big displays, but it was even more so just somebody reaching out and say, "Hey, I noticed that was a good job there
Yeah.
on this specific thing."
I think it has to come from someone that you kind of look up to and trust.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it really means a lot. And I'd also say when it comes from someone that doesn't use confetti cannons, with someone who isn't just high-fiving absolutely every single little thing, they give a little bit of feedback, but it's because they want to be intentional about highlighting specific moments, not just highlighting you kind of doing your job day in and day out. There's certain things that need to be rewarded and supported, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Ashley usually likes 2 or 3 texts a day saying how good she is, but so we have to just bake that into your day and things. But no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so as an alumni, Scott, you've been out now for a decade, so I don't want to break it to you, but you're not a new
Wow.
graduate now. I know. So, what advice would you give to current students who are preparing as they think about, okay, this is March, April, whatever, life after college, especially balancing faith and career, ambitions and goals and things.
Yeah. So I guess I would say just pure advice is start early. If you are graduating this spring, start right now. If you
Mm.
are graduating for a year or two before, honestly, start now. I would say I have noticed that in the recruiting aspects that I've been involved with at Wells Fargo, we are starting our recruiting earlier and earlier. I was on a on-campus recruiting event last week, and it was primarily sophomores that I was having conversations with.
Mm.
Wow.
Which also was really interesting having conversations with them because I was a sophomore and I had no idea what the next step in my life was going to look like. So I think there's that. I would say it's okay if you don't know what you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
but try to figure out what you want to do. Because you don't know, don't just kind of sit there and think that, oh, eventually you're going to figure it out. It takes work to find out like what's interesting. Try to have
Mm-hmm.
conversations with as many individuals as you can, whether it's your professors, whether it's family, whether it's friends or people at your church. Ask your professors for their network and just try to talk with people, get to learn about what they do, and be active in that research.
That is great advice. That is great, Scott. You've given us so many different perspectives, right? You've reflected back on your time in college and the experiences and tools that helped equip you. You gave us a little bit of information about, what perhaps senior leaders can be doing and bringing up a younger generation of employees. But you yourself are a leader already in your first 10 years at Wells Fargo, right? From vice president to executive director. So you talk about already having some of these conversations. What are some of the maybe skills or personality traits or tools that you're looking for when you have these conversations with these young folks?
Yeah. So I would say like there's kind of two parts to it. It's your soft skills and your technical skills.
Yes.
I work for a bank. I work in finance. So on the technical side, you kind of have to understand the basics of accounting and finance. For those students, like I was not overly fluent. I went for an interview in commercial real estate, not ever taking more than a single commercial real estate class at Concordia. But I understood kind of the basics of finance and in accounting. So you got to understand those. And then transitioning to the soft skills, I would say you've got to be able to have an intelligent conversation, be actively engaged with me as an interviewer, understanding, listening to what I'm saying rather than just kind of thinking about what you're going to say next. Mm-hmm. We're going to look at a lot of experience that you have had, whether that's in the classroom or whether if you have an internship. I would say the importance of trying to find an internship is leaps and bounds, because it's going to give you examples to speak to of, oh, here's where I did this event that displays this characteristic that you're asking about. How do you, okay, you can say you're hardworking, but if you can give an example that shows that you are hardworking, if you can give an example that, oh, I'm good at communication. Oh, I led this presentation. Oh, I drafted these weekly emails. Those kind of things speak a lot more.
That is great, great advice. And I know Professor Nagel will probably tune in and be happy to hear about the tech skills. But as a former communications instructor of yours, I was very thankful that you just threw in that piece of soft skills. So always appreciate that, Scott.
Well, and Scott, I'm just thinking about like, what am I, you talking about getting a job or doing something this summer. I remember I learned what I didn't want to do. I worked for a summer at the cement factory in my town because that's where my dad worked. And I was like, that's very hard work and very dirty. I don't think that's my gig, right? So what was your biggest surprise after college, Scott? What would you go, wow, I didn't see that curveball coming?
Yeah, this one I would say, I don't know if there's any big like event or something like that, but I guess as I think about it, honestly, it's simply but like my life's gotten better with each passing year. Life is good. God is good. I had great memories in college, but like each year, my life has gotten better and better.
Well, that's awesome, Scott. And I know it's that firm foundation of faith and your support system you've spoken so highly of that has helped that. And you in turn, it sounds like are already doing that for your colleagues and other friends, and you're that support system for people. As we come to an end here, Scott, we always leave our listeners with their takeaway tip. So what is one tip you'd love listeners to walk away with today?
Mine would be all around preparation. I think trying to prepare for every single meeting or conversation that you're going to have, and not just the big ones. There were times where I would go to a meeting or I would have a call with a customer, and it wasn't my best. The thing I constantly kind of realized after a few years, a lot of trial and error, was that I didn't prepare for that meeting. All it took was a couple bullet points to write down my thoughts beforehand. What do I want to make sure I get across? What do I want to make sure I ask and have as my takeaways from this meeting? And that really came down to preparation.
Great advice for any stage of someone's career or academic journey as well. That preparation is so key. Well, Scott, we cannot thank you enough. We want to congratulate you again on your Gold Award, and
Thank you.
Continued prayers for success for you and your family moving forward. We'll have to have you back again, maybe for a 20-year award down the road. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's a ways away.
We'll have a good one. Thanks again, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you both very much.
If you enjoy the Townsend Institute podcast series, head to our website at cui.edu/Townsend to find out more about the certificates, bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees offered through Concordia University Irvine. With programs in mental health counseling, executive coaching and consulting, and organizational leadership, we have a variety of faith-based programs dedicated to helping you fulfill your academic and professional goals, all the while furthering your competence, character, and connection. Again, that's cui.edu/Townsend.